It's 1989. I am less than 1 year old.
I'm 7.
You're 7. And single-use plastic is everywhere.
Yeah.
And people are getting pissed. So this man named Larry Thomas was the president at the time of the Society of Plastics Industry. He called a meeting of executives from, say, Exxon, Chevron, Dow. He said, this is a quote, "The image of plastic is deteriorating at an alarming rate. We are approaching a point of no return." And do you want to know the brilliant plan that they devised during the meeting? They were going to advertise their way out of it.
Of course.
Of course. Hi, Kat.
Hey, Tiff.
How are you?
Oh, better every minute. How about you?
Better every minute. Same, for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm just hanging down in the basement with my spiders.
Yay! I haven't had a break-in by the dog so far, so that's a good
I
thing.
know. I was thinking that too. Yeah, we record 2 at a time, so this is our second recording. If anybody's confused, but
yeah, go check out Glass Recycling last week's episode if you haven't yet, because
yeah,
you're gonna need the palate cleanser. I think
you will. Maybe even listen to that one after plastics. We're talking about plastic recycling today, and honestly, I lost sleep.
Oh,
It's depressing. It's actually not it's depressing, but it's more like infuriating. So we'll see. But yeah, it's become such a it's such a monster in all meaning of the word.
yeah,
That we've had to turn it into our first 2-parter ever.
yeah. So this is the cliffhanger, except it's not going to be 2 seasons. It's going to be in the same season, so you're not going to have to like wait 3 weeks.
Oh yeah, no,
It's going to
just
be up
one at
next.
least.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a behemoth.
Whoa. I like all the monster names we're coming up with. It's Godzilla.
It's a Gorgon.
It's a Gorgon. I like it.
Well, yeah, but I did want to start real quick with I meant to start this waste season off with a story because you know how you have those like painful moments in life that are so eye-opening? You might know more what I'm talking about when I tell you the story, but this was a very painful moment where I was like, wow, I really need to like get my shit together.
Oh, I'm intrigued.
Okay, so I have been into decluttering, which is interesting because we're going to talk about like decluttering and stuff later at I think the last episode of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's obsessed with it. But so I went to Goodwill, which is not my first choice, to be clear.
Okay.
But I kind of had like 3 boxes of crap that I just needed to get rid of. And it wasn't really crap, but one of the things was this is so painful, but like a pretty nice pasta maker.
Oh.
One of those little cranky things that you put on the end of your table.
Yeah.
It was pretty nice. I hadn't used it in like 2 years. And I was like, oh, all these declutter people online are telling me if I don't use it in 1 year that I should just get rid of it. I don't need it clogging up my shelves.
Oh.
Which they're not necessarily wrong, but taking it to Goodwill was a wrong choice because, okay, I went through this whole process of taping. There's 2 parts to this thing, and it's heavy metal. It's like a really solid piece of equipment. And anybody in their right mind would have taken it on FreeCycle, and I've learned this now. But
oh dear,
I know. So I taped these 2 pieces together and like try to make sure that they were like solidly taped together. And then I walk over to the guy, hand him my box. It's outside. Walk back to my car. And when by the time I get back, he's already going through my box.
Right.
See him take my pasta maker and just rip the 2 pieces apart.
No.
And throw it in the box. Meaning, I don't blame him, but meaning nobody's ever going to use that again.
No.
They're going to see it and be like, what the hell is this thing?
They don't know what
Here's
it is.
half of a part. Unless by some miracle, it's just gone. It's landfilled and useless.
I'm so sorry.
So
That is
that's like
heartbreaking.
embarrassing and also
No,
just
I mean,
eye-opening.
you gotta know the people at Goodwill are so over. I mean, people just throw. I mean, it's like wish cycling, like we were talking about last week. People just throw trash in the recycling and hope that it's recyclable. It's the same with Goodwill. They just give trash
Yes.
away,
Yes. Yeah,
and
and it's like it's just such an easy
yeah, you
way.
don't have to see it again. You just drive up and hand it
Yeah.
off. You don't even have to have a conversation with the guy. Like
Right.
it's so.
It's painful.
Yeah. I mean, this is why I really love the Buy Nothing group on Facebook and
Yes.
Free
Yeah, and we're gonna get
Cycle.
into more of that,
Yeah.
like, a little bit later in the season,
But
but it was
what
just
a
like,
bummer. Yeah.
oh, it hurts. It still hurts me, and yeah, so I've gotten into Free Cycle, and I'm loving it. We can talk
Yeah.
about that later when we talk about the, like
Decluttering and
yes. But, yeah. Anyway, I just had to share because it's like I have a Salvation Army near me, and I think they treat things with a lot more respect, at least that's what it seems like, but
okay. I
again, I
mean,
don't blame the guy. It's like corporate
yeah.
goodwill, like
Well, and yeah, he's got 40 billion other people coming by that
yes,
day to drop off their trash and
exactly. And
yeah.
yeah. So anyway, there's my lesson. Hard lesson learned about
Yeah.
waste.
Yeah, it's fair.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I should say welcome to Greening Up My Act.
Oh yeah, welcome.
It's a podcast about green living. We usually review products to see if they're actually eco-friendly, sustainable, not full of green hooey,
Mhm.
um, and efficient, do what they're supposed to do, and are cost effective. So
Right.
we do that. But this season we're starting off with waste, and we're talking about recycling specifically to start, and the four horsemen of the recycle-pocalypse, as we're calling them,
Yes.
which paper, aluminum, and glass ended up to be more like My Little Ponies, whereas we have reached death today, which is plastic.
Yeah, unfortunately, it truly is. It might feel a little bit like death, so.
Okay, well, at the end of every episode, we give it a granola rating from 1 to 5 granolas, 5 being break your tooth off, and 1 being soggy. So that's
You
an
want it to be crunchy,
you
by
want
the
it to be
way.
crunchy because
If
we're
you've ever
hippies and we
had
like
soggy granola.
it's the worst, just gross. So we want crunchy granola.
Crunchy.
So okay, well, Tiffany is gonna.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm going to a funeral.
I know, I'm
Or
sorry.
it's okay.
No, it's
I'm
okay. This is really important. So,
okay.
yeah. And
So
some of it
here's
you might
yeah.
know, but that's the thing. It's like I thought I knew, and then I was like, "Oh my god, I
Well,
didn't know."
that's how I felt about all the rest of the recycling things. We
Yeah.
are so uneducated in America. I mean, it's just who has time,
Exactly.
which is why this podcast exists. So
Exactly. So we're helping everybody out, hopefully. Get a
yeah,
little bit more knowledge in that brain.
yeah. So buckle up. This is a two-parter. This is part
Yep.
one.
Yeah, so I'm going to start part 1 off with a story.
Another story. Good. I
Yeah,
love
but this
story
isn't
time.
personal.
Oh,
This
well,
is
that's fine.
from yeah, this is from NPR and Frontline. They did they had such a good article about plastic recycling.
Good. That's
Okay.
one thing we do well as NPR. Tell you what, America does great NPR.
Yes. So, it's 1989. I am less than 1 year old.
I'm 7.
You're 7. Like a Prayer by Madonna is topping the charts,
Hmm.
and single-use plastic is everywhere.
Yeah.
And people are getting pissed. So, this man named Larry Thomas, who was the president at the time of the Society of Plastics Industry, he called a meeting of executives from, say, Exxon, Chevron, Dow, DuPont, all the fun industry
The
giants,
top friends of the
our
environment
buddies,
and people everywhere. Yeah.
just our buds. So he called this private meeting at the Ritz-Carlton in Washington, D.C. He said,
Mhm.
this is a quote, "The image of plastic is deteriorating at an alarming rate. We are approaching a point of no return." And do you want to know the brilliant plan that they devised during the meeting? They were going to advertise their way out of it.
Of course.
Of
Our
course.
favorite marketing. That's what we do for livings.
So, these plastics and oil industries proceeded to spend $50 million per year on ads that said things like, plastic makes things possible.
Oh boy.
And they promoted the recycling of plastic.
Okay.
The industry, so these industries also funded things like sorting machines or nonprofits that were based like focused on recycling or
Okay.
recycling centers.
So it sounds good.
It sounds good. But then every single one of these projects that they had started had failed by the mid 1990s.
Oh,
So like 5 years later.
wow.
Yep. But they, they could say, oh, we did all of these things,
We
even though,
tried. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So these industry experts knew that recycling plastic would not work, that it was not economically viable.
Wow.
But they went to Minnesota to start a local plastics recycling program anyway.
Okay.
Then, well, I think they first created a special group called Council for Solid Waste Solutions, which is
Mm.
so lovely.
Mm-hmm.
And they brought a man from DuPont.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same DuPont chemical that just like last week paid millions and millions of dollars to settle a case for poisoning waterways with forever chemicals.
Oh wow.
They're a great company. We love
Clearly.
them. They're
Yeah.
friends of the podcast.
Big supporters.
Yes.
Financial backers. That's why we're poor.
So these folks created this Council for Solid Waste Solutions, and they brought this guy in from DuPont named Ron Liesemer to run it.
Okay.
So this Ron Liesemer guy was the one that they sent over to Minnesota to start the plastics recycling program. And when interviewed recently, Liesemer says the industry was focused on keeping their products on the shelves, not tomorrow's solutions. So
What do
these
you know?
people later in life are sort of having wake-up calls like, holy shit, what did I do with my life?
Oh my god.
Because NPR interviewed several of them and all of them are like, yeah. I have some quotes from them later.
Yeah.
So, also starting in 1989, these sneaky bastards began discreetly lobbying to mandate the 3 arrow symbol to appear on all plastic in almost 40 states. And that was even if the product wasn't economically
Oh
viable
my
to
god.
recycle.
Is that the biggest green hooey wool over our eyes
It actually is.
marketing gig that has ever happened?
It actually
The
is.
mother of all green hooey.
Yes, they had this story in the article about this recycling. A woman, I think it was a woman who was running a recycling center, and before all these arrows started appearing, it was like she would get milk jugs and she would get like laundry jugs, and that was it. All of that was very recyclable, and then all of a sudden, all this other crap started showing up, and she noticed all these arrows,
Oh
and
my god.
they found out like, oh, it's actually the industries that are putting these arrows on these products.
Oh wow. You got okay, so it doesn't mean it's recyclable. It's just reminding you to recycle.
Yes, and
What
their
garbage.
excuse was that they wanted to make it easier for for recycling centers to sort out the plastics, but that's complete bullshit because it didn't need the arrows. If you just want the number, just put the number.
Yeah.
Like the arrows mean recyclable.
Yeah.
So,
What a lie. What a great marketing lie. Wow.
yeah. And in 1993, there's proof that the Society of Plastics Industry, the same one, was told that companies are misusing the symbol as a green marketing tool.
Mhm.
And they didn't give a care. They didn't give a shit.
Wow.
Yeah.
Monsters.
Yeah, they really are.
Oh
So
my
the
god.
takeaway is one of the big takeaways is that this is a very new problem. This plastics, single-use plastics clogging up our everything.
Mhm.
And this isn't something that our grandparents ever dealt with, which
True.
is really hard to wrap
Right.
my mind around because that's
Yeah.
just been my life, but it's new. And one of the crazier oh my god, it's like almost painful to say this. One of the crazier statistics that I found was that the world has produced more than 6.3 billion tons of plastic waste since the 1950s.
In a little over half a century. Well, almost a century. Well, okay, we're getting. I'm like, yeah, it's 2000. It's been half a century. No, it's 75 years. Okay,
Whoa, 75 years. That sounds crazy. But
I
yeah.
know, 3/4 of a century.
Okay. So in 75 years, more than half of that was produced in the last 16 years.
Oh, damn.
I know. That stat was from like 20, maybe 2018, 2017, something like that. But,
The last
recent.
time the EPA was functioning.
Probably.
Wow.
Isn't that wild?
Oh my god.
I know. So today, we find ourselves with the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, which is a
Yes.
vortex of plastic waste and debris that no nation wants to take responsibility for, according to National Geographic.
Oh my god.
All right, so my story's over. I'm going to cite my sources real quick.
Okay. I'm gonna go cry into a corner.
I know. So, all right, yeah, like I said, I used NPR and Frontline. That amazing. They spent it sounded like months researching.
Mm-hmm.
Great article. The Conversation website had an article on the pandemic's effect on plastics recycling. Financial Times had sort of like the most famous article about. It came out in 2018, but it was about plastics recycling post China's ban on recycling.
Okay. Yeah.
Or ban on taking imports. Not really a ban. Anyway, we'll get into that later. That'll be next episode.
Next week.
But
okay.
National Geographic has mentioned plasticsindustry.org. I looked up what plastic was made of at plasticeurope.org. I found, okay, so if you Google anything plastics recycling, you're going to probably, one of the first SEO things, freaking SEO, one of the first things you're going to see, which is search engine optimization. If anybody doesn't know, that's a marketing
for your
thing.
non-marketing hooey people.
Yeah, look it up because it really affects what you see on Google. Anyway, you'll probably see the Alliance to End Plastic Waste, which is pure green hooey.
Oh, no.
Pure green hooey. You would never know it until you look at who pays for it. Turns out it's a bunch of chemical companies and oil companies. So,
okay, just greenwashing their activities.
Yes.
Okay.
So, other articles. One from The Guardian, one from Washington Post on the environmental costs of recycling plastic, which was also mind-blowing. Both of these were new articles, like within the last couple of weeks, and I was like, holy moly, fajoli.
Yeah.
Okay. I looked up DutchNews.nl and the Plastic Soup Foundation, both of which are Dutch, I'm pretty sure Dutch, on the issues with Dutch recycling, because I had mentioned that I wanted to look into how they do it in the Netherlands and see if they do it any better.
Right.
We'll see. So I also looked at the Ecology Center on the plastic bags because I take my plastic bags to the grocery store and I wanted to know if that mattered.
Right.
And finally, myplasticfreelife.com. This lady is super cool and she started a blog, turned it into a book about forming a life without plastic.
Okay.
Like, it took a long time, but she's doing pretty well. So she has lots of tips.
Great.
Okay.
I need those.
I know. Don't we all? So 4 basic problems that I found with plastics recycling.
Okay.
Number 1, used plastic can be turned into new things, but picking it up, sorting it out, and melting it down is expensive. New plastic is almost always cheaper to make than it is to recycle.
That's the problem.
Yes, and fracking for oil contributes to the low cost. And also the pandemic, plunging oil prices.
Okay, so plastic's even cheaper to make new now than it was 10 years ago.
Probably. I'm not sure on that.
Well,
but
maybe not anymore, but
yeah,
during the pandemic. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. The oil industry makes more than $400 billion a year making plastic.
Okay. Jeez.
And because of the demand for oil for cars is going down, they expect plastic to be their biggest money maker in the future.
So they're just going to double down on it.
That, and if you think about it, I'll talk about it a little bit later, but recycling is their competition.
Ooh.
I know. Yeah. I know. All this, none of this came from my brain. All of it came from research. And I was like, oh my
Right.
God, there's so much. Okay. So that's number 2. Number 3, plastic degrades each time it's reused, meaning it can't be reused more than 1 to 3 times.
So unlike our infinite glass and infinite aluminum recycling.
Oh, yeah. Very different.
Ew.
Yep.
Okay.
And number 4, this was the more recent news. There's evidence that recycling plastic makes it more toxic.
Oh boy. Okay. It really is death. You weren't kidding.
I'm so sorry.
I'm just looking at plastic lotion bottles sitting by my
I
desk.
know. I'm drinking out of a plastic cup, although it's not single use at least, but
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Okay, so on that note, what's plastic made of?
Yes, please. I was like, what is this substance?
Okay, so I didn't look a whole lot into it, but it's made of natural materials like cellulose, coal, natural gas, salt, and of course, crude oil
Mm-hmm.
that's put through a polymerization or polycondensation process.
Okay.
So I didn't look too much into the process of like making new plastic, but I did look into the recycling process
Okay.
because plastics are one of the hardest materials to recycle.
Mm-hmm.
There are dozens of types that we use in every day, and they cannot be recycled together. So we have to separate each of those numbers needs to be separated from each other. And after sorting, the bales are sent to a recycling facility to be further washed and cleaned. Then they're washed and they're dunked in chemicals to remove the labels.
Okay.
Then the plastic is all chopped up. So kind of like glass, except
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah.
Um,
More chemicals.
yes,
Less physical process, more chemicals. Okay.
right. And so the flakes, there's like lid flakes and bottle flakes. I
Ooh.
guess they have different weights, so they're separated in a flotation pool.
Okay.
And then the flakes are melted into plastic pellets, which takes energy and can produce air pollution. And
As
the
we know.
pellets, right, go figure. And the pellets are sold to manufacturers. So, what I learned is that it is possible to do all of this in an environmentally friendly way. I mean, this is, I think I'm quoting here because environmentally friendly, I'm not sure,
Mm-hmm.
but friendlier way.
Mm-hmm.
So if you treat the wastewater correctly, if you dispose of the chemicals properly, and you make sure that your emissions are held in and they don't escape. So recycling can actually use less energy and resources than making plastic
New. Okay.
new.
Which I think we found from every recycling process what we've covered.
Yeah, it actually is true. But a lot of times shortcuts are taken and the
Right.
consequences can be devastating.
Oh dear.
Yes. So, more about recycling plastic. Not everything is recyclable everywhere, especially after China's ban, which we will talk about next week.
Just teasing next week.
Yeah, they put in a policy into place that really, I would say, opened people's eyes more than anything.
Yeah.
But it really changed how we have to operate plastics recycling.
Okay.
So not everything's recyclable everywhere. And I looked at my county's website, and some of the things surprised me that they will take. They have to be clean, but they'll take pump bottles, spray bottles, frozen food trays,
Whoa.
and number 5 takeout containers, which are like the clear lid with the black bottom.
Right. Which are, yeah, notorious for not being taken anywhere. Okay. Wow.
I know, I was really surprised. And then these all have to be clean though.
Of course.
Can't have
Run them
like
through the dishwasher.
Indian
Right.
food, yeah. But they don't take plastic bags.
Of course
I'm
not.
not that surprised about that. Plastic egg cartons,
Okay.
which I'm really upset about because I've been putting those in my recycling for a long time. And I remember looking it up. They must have
Yeah.
changed it because I looked it up like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So I think I need to start buying the cardboard ones.
Yeah.
They do not take, number 1, plastic clamshell packaging,
Okay.
which it's, I don't know, that's probably on everything.
Yeah. That's so much.
Yeah, they don't take cereal box liners, and which is not surprising, but they don't take styrofoam either. I don't know if anywhere recycles styrofoam.
Ridwell. We'll talk about them, but they'll take
Ooh,
styrofoam. Yeah.
awesome. Okay. So,
Wow. Yeah.
about
I mean, I just like you ticked it off, and I was like, I have wish cycled every one of those items.
I know.
Uh,
So have I. So, a little quick bit about plastic bags. So, I mentioned just there's no upside to this, but it's not going to get better, unfortunately. But so I actually wrote out, I was so frustrated. I take my effing plastic bags to the GD grocery store.
yep. Yep.
And guess what I found out? They're probably not being recycled.
Are
They're
they just
probably
throwing?
not.
Really?
Yeah.
No.
This was from, I'm trying to remember where I found this. Ecology Center.
Okay.
They seem like they knew what they were talking about. They were saying they went through the whole process of that. And they said some stores use services that collect the bags and then send them straight to the landfill. So, like, you're going to the grocery store. I don't know if everybody does this, but you take your bags to the grocery
Yeah, to
store. You
the
put them
bin
in the little white
outside.
bin or the
Yeah.
little green arrow bin. Oh, wow. I hit my thing and it made a dinging sound. So, you take it to the store, you put it in the green arrow recycle bin. You feel really good about yourself, which is what I do.
Yeah.
Some of them just take it straight to the landfill.
Oh my
And
God.
some of it's recycled, but it's very hard to follow. This isn't the same for like saran wrap, so plastic film or plastic bags. It's almost impossible to follow it to the end product or even find products made from recycled plastic film.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this website recommended like use paper instead of plastic bags for
Yeah.
trash, which I never thought about doing.
Yeah. Growing up, my mom did. I mean, that makes
Really?
sense.
They
Yeah.
did that in the Netherlands. My friends were doing that, and I just didn't think about it, but
Yeah.
yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and they said like eliminate plastic wrap so you can use like beeswax cloth, which I do
Yeah.
want to try. Do you have any of that?
We have reusable plastic bags that we use, and then of course my roommate's infinite glass jars.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, bring your own bags. Don't buy food in pouches or packaged in films,
Oh
but
my
it's hard.
It's
I have
so
a kid.
hard.
Pouches are like the new
Yeah, it's how you get them
craze.
to eat anything.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, I just bought yogurt in a plastic tub, right? Like, I'm sorry,
Well,
that's
that's
not a plastic film or dual layer plastic, which is something else I've learned about, which has like plastic and aluminum or plastic and
oh, interesting. I
like
didn't
two
even
different
hear
kinds of
about that.
plastic. Yeah. So like your, granola pouch, like any of those pouches has plastic and something else or two
Yeah.
kinds of plastic. So they're impossible to recycle almost.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Jeez.
it sucks. But yeah, I mean, even your yogurt tub, it's like, God, that's still plastic. And
I
it's
know.
still technically single use. So
Yeah. My sister used the It's a great dog toy. The dog likes to lick the yogurt out of it
right.
at the end.
Ruby does the same thing.
Yeah.
Her like she's got like a line around her face when she comes
Yeah.
out.
Just
She's like,
yogurt.
oh, I've
It's so,
emerged.
it's so good.
Got my fix.
Yep. Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm despondent now
I know, I'm
thinking
so
about
sorry. I'm so sorry.
it was
Yeah.
all a ruse the whole time.
Hmm. So back to more of the ruse. So that's just a little bit about like plastic and recycling plastic and whatever. As mentioned from the intro story, the plastics industry sold us a bill of goods. And the industry knew, like I said, and I have a quote here, like knew that plastics recycling would not be viable or
Yeah.
sustainable.
Hmm.
But this Larry Thomas guy, who was the former president of the Society of Plastics Industry, he said, if the public thinks that recycling is working, then they are not going to be as concerned about the environment. And
That's America in a nutshell.
yes, and in 1974, an industry insider wrote in a speech, there is serious doubt that recycling plastic can ever be made viable on an economic basis. And that was 1974.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So there's no responsible way to be involved in plastic manufacturing, basically, or to use plastic.
I think not.
Yikes.
I know. It's a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah.
And I want to say the bigger problem is like, I don't know this to be totally true, but I want to say the biggest problem, or at least the most solvable problem, is the single use, or
Yeah.
the, 2 to 3 times you use it and throw it out,
Yeah.
rather than like making car parts out of plastic.
Mm-hmm.
It's still not ideal, but it's not like it's not ideal because that car part will eventually need to,
Degrade and yeah.
it'll need to go out of the car and
We
it won't
we
be there
still got
forever.
microplastics. We still got there's all kinds of things.
Right.
And heating up
So,
plastic can create toxic
yeah, and
toxic
like
gases and
yeah, and the one that feels more controllable is like the single use, because it's like you can't escape not ever having, like, you can't get a car without plastic.
right. Well, and I mean, plastic, there's a reason it exists. It's convenient.
Yeah, and
It really is.
I mean, it's transformative for the economy,
Yeah.
honestly.
I mean, how would we get strawberries delivered? You know, you got to
Yeah.
think about all the little peanuts in wrapping to deliver fragile goods or
Yeah, or like
putting that
any product
styrofoam.
on
Yeah.
Amazon.
Yeah. The little plastic bags. Yeah. Or anything that's wrapped, individually wrapped to preserve it or maintain its integrity.
My headphones, they're
Current
made of
set of
plastic.
headphones. Yeah. Actually,
Yeah.
most of this equipment that I'm using for podcasting today, there's plastic.
Yeah.
Um,
There's also a lot of metal. I'm proud of that, but
yeah. Yeah. Good job, us.
good job.
But yeah, like it really has made modern living possible.
Right. Right. And that's the big point. That
Yeah.
is a very good point. I want to come back to that for sure. Another big thing is that consumers want it to work. Like, we so
Yeah.
badly
This is
want
the
it to work.
ultimate wish cycling.
Yes,
Is this
exactly.
product this packaging that makes our life better and easier and it never breaks down, but if we can recycle it, we're fine. It's fine. We can keep living our easy lifestyles.
Yep. Yes. And what's so interesting is that this, I think it was the NPR article, they talked about in Oregon, in like the very progressive part of Oregon, where, oh, yeah, it was that same recycling center owner who had gone to the city council meeting,
Mm-hmm.
and she tried to tell the city council, like, hey, this recycling, like all these arrows are showing up everywhere and everybody's throwing everything in, and recycling's not working anymore, and it's actually becoming more expensive for me to process recyclables than it is worth it. I'm not making any money. And everyone at the city council meeting said, like, they said, like, she says it was as if heresy had been spoken in the room, and everyone believed that this plastic was valuable.
Oh my god.
And yeah, and that's probably because of the advertising. So I have some examples here,
Oh my
which is
god.
really wild. It makes us feel better to believe it, right? And probably a little bit out of control to let go of that belief. But like, one ad, I watched it. We'll have to somehow put on Instagram, from DuPont again,
Oh, our friends at DuPont.
our buddies. It's this cartoon ad, and it says the bottle may look empty. It's like a recycling truck and then a guy who I think is supposed to be working as a recycling
Mm-hmm.
collector or something. This bottle keeps popping out for some reason. It's like this really terrible 90s. It's from 1990. It's really terrible commercial. But it says the bottle may look empty, yet it's anything but trash. It's full of potential. We've pioneered the country's largest, most comprehensive plastic recycling program to help fill valuable uses and roles.
Wow.
At DuPont, we make the things that make a difference.
Mm.
Like forever chemicals in our water, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Oh my
That has
god.
made a difference. And now, okay, so these ads were like being shown all the time in the 90s, and we don't even remember them because they're just ingrained in our minds. But that had a huge impact on how we think of recycling in general, but mostly plastics recycling.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, they led the narrative.
Yes, and they
They
knew
owned
it,
it.
and they knew what they
Yeah.
were doing, and it's evil. But now the interesting thing is that there are new ads coming up about recycling and cleaning up plastic pollution. A lot of it has to do with like the oceans or whatever. One of the ads says, "We have people that can change the world." And both of the former industry officials that NPR interviewed say it sounds like deja vu and it sounds exactly the same. So it was interesting because the NPR article interviewed somebody from a chemical company, and he said, "Oh no, we didn't do it very well before, but it's better. It's better now. It's better. Everything's fine. We have new technology, all this crap." And these two industry insiders are like, "Bullshit.
Wow. Yeah.
It's not better. It's exactly what it was
Oh my
before."
God.
So keep an eye out for any kind of ad like that.
Yeah. That's so upsetting. I mean, yeah. If you out there see green hooey ads like this, send them our way.
Yeah,
And we can dissect them.
please do. So, okay, the other big thing that I sort of mentioned that about the competition, but this Larry Thomas guy who used to run the society for whatever the hell it's called, Plastic Society of the Plastics Industry. He said that he worked for an industry that didn't want recycling to work because if the job is to sell as much oil as you possibly can, any amount of recycled plastic is competition.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Said that out loud.
Yeah.
In front of God and everyone.
He did. It's like, well, I'm glad you figured it out now after you spent your whole career working for these assholes.
Good job.
I
Congratulations.
mean, hey, better late than never, I guess. But yeah, and I'm going to leave us on. I should talk about kittens after this or something. Yeah, I'm going to leave us on like a terrible note. But where, sorry in advance, where is plastic production going?
Mm-hmm.
It's expected to triple in the next 25 years.
Okay. And again, they think that is that single-use plastics, or is it using plastics in other places that...
I think that's just plastic in general.
In general, okay. Because maybe there is some hope. Maybe it is using it in places that it'll be used longer.
Maybe.
Like, like the Earth ships in New Mexico. Have you seen those?
No.
So
Wait, I think I've heard of them.
Yeah. We should post this on Instagram, but it's really crazy cool houses that people build, and they use like recycled bottles for insulation. I mean, just the plastic bottles for insulation.
Whoa, and that works? They just put bottles in their wall?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. So
that's so cool.
There's things like that you can do with bottles and things, but yeah, like, oh God, how depressing.
Apologies. And apologies for next week because it's not getting better.
We really are going to have to do something really cheerful.
No, for real. I'll like sing a song or something. No,
I'm about to go eat a tub of ice cream. Tub of ice cream, but it's in a paper container. I feel better about that.
Well, that was one thing. I think it was the Plastic Free Life lady was like, one of her recommendations was to go out to get ice cream and like get it in a cone.
Yeah, that makes that's okay. But then you're driving. I guess it offsets it enough, though.
I don't know. Yeah, it's all hard. But anyway, that was just that's why I didn't sleep very well. But
that's totally fair.
Yeah. So that was round 1, and so in the next episode, I'm gonna do the whole like granola rating, and we're gonna talk. Let's see, what are we gonna talk about? We're gonna talk about China's ban. We're talking about, is recycling environmentally better than producing new plastic, which is really interesting.
Yeah,
because we were just saying it's like, oh, everything so far seems better,
right?
And then I'm gonna talk a little bit about like Dutch plastics recycling. And then where do we go from here?
Okay.
So
I need a nap.
I know.
I need to go hug my dog.
I know. I'm trying to think of a funny story. Let's see. Charlie did some. Oh, yes. I have a funny story if you want to end on that. Okay. So Charlie is 2, a little bit over 2.
Yeah.
She just started talking. And it's just amazing because she like wakes up every day and I can just see her mind opening up more. It's like she just notices more things than stuff she just didn't pay attention to at all before.
Yeah.
The funniest thing happened the other day because I was sitting next to her at her little dollhouse. We were playing and I farted and she has never paid attention to that before, ever. And this time she got this like glazed look in her eyes. And then she goes, "Mommy pooping?" Because she thought I was like pooping in my diaper. Because that's
As
what
you
she
do,
did.
because we all wear diapers. Because I do, therefore she does, right? Like I love
Yeah.
toddler logic.
I love it so much. So we taught her what farting was.
It's like mini poop.
It's just so amazing because it's like you just see her like wake up to the world in all these
Wow.
little weird ways.
Amazing.
Yeah, so they're still good in the world. Don't worry.
Yeah, there's toddlers learning things all the time. That is helpful. That is helpful.
Yes, I'm glad.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for listening. It's
Yeah.
been really, I've been like not looking forward to, but really interested in this topic
Expressing the weight of
specifically.
this. Yeah.
Yes. Like since we started the podcast, I was like, oh man, that's going to be a big one.
I know you've given these quotes to me before, but having them all in one sitting is kind of like
I know. I know. Even for me, it's like I discovered a lot of stuff that I did not realize before.
Yeah. This is plastic recycling is trash. So
110%.
okay. Well,
Alrighty.
follow us on Instagram so you can see ads from the DuPont.
Yes.
Company.
It's at Greening Up My Act. I'm going to try to figure out a way. I think I can just record it. I don't think that would be any sort of copyright. I don't care.
We're not making money off of it. We're
Right.
not making money. Come on.
Come on, people.
Yeah.
So I'll put that up for sure. And then some other interesting things. I'm not sure what yet.
And shout out to everyone who does comment on our Instagram posts. Tiffany farms that. She is the chicken that hatches those eggs, and she does a great job. So I came in today and wrote great tip, and I misspelled tip, so it said top, and I said I mean tip. So there's extra bad comments on Instagram today because I looked at it. But
I
really
it so much.
I really appreciate the interaction we have with our followers. You guys are doing amazing things, and it's always really great to hear what you're doing on a personal level.
I love when people comment. Yeah. It's so exciting. It's my favorite thing.
Like, oh, we're not the only ones doing this.
Yes.
Yeah. And if any of our stuff has helped you, that makes us feel better too. So
yeah, totally. One of our followers actually, I think it was Susan.
Yeah.
Who was this? Well,
yes.
I think she was telling me that she used green bleach. Did you?
Yeah.
Is that the one? Yeah.
Oh, I didn't read that. I read her stuff about the dishwasher detergent.
Yes.
Thanks. Shout out to Susan.
Yeah. One of our OGs for sure.
Yeah. And Don, my friend from middle school, I think. Don.
Yeah.
Forever. Yeah. He's great too. Susan and Don, we love you. Thanks for listening.
For sure.
Yeah. You're why we do this.
You are. You're our purpose.
Yeah. So hopefully you listen to this episode and you haven't given up after our break.
Right. You're just crying so loudly that you can't hear us.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, take care.
Me too. Dream of glass and aluminum recycling.
Totally. And kind of paper, but
yeah, maybe less. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks,
Tiff. Okay. Bye.